All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. Looks like we got a pretty good crowd here today, so this is great. I see some familiar faces from yesterday. We also did a session over multi-cloud, so this one is going to be a little bit different pace. We're actually going to do a demo today, so that's what we're really looking forward to. So this session is how to build a powerful multi-cloud. So I'm just curious, who here is currently operating in any, even just one VMware cloud? Is anyone making use of one cloud? How about more than one, multiple clouds? All right, well, we have at least a couple, so that's awesome.
That's good to see.
So I'm curious if this will relate to your case, but we think it's pretty cool. So let's get started. If my clicker is going to work here. All right, clicker's not going to work, so we're going to do the manual way. All right, so this is our agenda. Like I said, most of this is going to be the demo. We're going to spend most of the time on the demo, so I'm not going to bore you with too many slides. So we're going to first discuss the team that we're on, and then we'll go ahead and get through the demo. So this is, let's get started. My name is Joseph Polcar. I'm a staff multi-cloud solutions architect on the multi-cloud team with VMware. There's a strategy and an architecture branch of the team, and we're both on the architecture side. And most of my background is actually with federal service providers. Worked with like DISA, for example, GDIT, on some government clouds, DoD clouds. So that's where most of my experience comes from. Work a lot with Cloud Director and providers in the current role that I'm in. And of course, we support a lot of multi-cloud engagement. So, and I'm going to hand it off to my co-speaker here, Justin.
Thanks, Joseph. So good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Brandon. I'm a multi-cloud solutions architect, part of the multi-cloud architecture group with Joseph here. I have 11 years experience in IT industry, primarily focusing on consulting and professional services. Over the past year, while at VMware, I've been focused on a key GSI partner for VMware, helping deliver their go-to-market strategy around multi-cloud architecture and technologies that we're going to talk about today. So very relevant. So just a little bit of background about me and Joseph's team. We're part of the multi-cloud solutions architect team. And our vision really is to be leaders in the multi-cloud space. VMware has invested a lot of knowledge and revenue to help build out a really robust and powerful lab for us to have fun and build these cool demos to show you guys. So we're really proud of that. And we really want to be the leaders in VMware in the multi-cloud space and helping enable clients and VMware customers towards that multi-cloud strategy and journey. So that's really what our vision is and what our mission statement is to help drive those goals towards multi-cloud consumption.
Yep, and just to add to that, you know, the reason this team was formed initially is because we really, if you think about it, there's some folks that either are in AWS or supporting Azure or Google. You know, they're kind of in their own swim lane, so we really needed to create that multi-cloud team. So that's where we're kind of branching together.
Yes.
So that's what our team does, and we help both partners, customers, direct customers, as well as mentoring for internal architects as well.
That's right. That's your slide.
All right, so the first thing I wanted to discuss before we dig into the demo is the VMware Cloud Ready framework. So for anyone that's really looking or interested in building a multi-cloud, this is a really good document to start with. This is a white paper that breaks down how to adopt multi-cloud into really 5 pillars. So if you think about it, there's a lot of well-architected framework out there, but once again, it's specific to one cloud provider. So this is really trying to pull that together for all the cloud providers. The 5 pillars are first, plan, right? So you have to plan, and there's multiple parts of planning, right? It's not just planning what VMs are going to move or how you're going to modernize and whatnot. You have to plan your organization, right? Because a lot of times your organization is not structured to support multi-cloud, or they're kind of silos supporting different clouds. So maybe you are already making use of multiple clouds, but they're operating in silos. So that's really where you have to start planning And then the second part is, of course, assessing your applications. There's a couple of tools that VMware has that can help you with this. One, for example, is Network Insight. You can do an application discovery there. VROps also has service discovery capabilities as well. So really finding out what all the dependencies are for your applications and whatnot, that's really how you get started with the planning phase. And of course, there's a lot more detail in this document, so I'd really recommend checking it out.
Yeah.
The next part is building. So building is taking what you've learned from the planning stage and actually implementing that. So that's deploying your SDDCs, ensuring you have backup and recovery handled as well. And anytime you can implement automation throughout the process, you're going to want to start that in the build phase, of course. And then secure. So, this is really critical and is sometimes an afterthought. So you really need to focus on securing the workloads, especially if you're having to do like compliance or framework. Like, for example, in my past with the government, I worked with FedRAMP. So that's one of those certifications that we had to ensure that we could meet. There's also like PCI compliance for credit cards and whatnot. So all of that, you really have to consider that. And then of course, identity and access management kind of falls under this category, setting up RBAC and MFA, things like that. That's going to fall under this pillar. The next is modernize. So modernize, you really start with your infrastructure, right? By migrating your existing workloads to the cloud, you're really modernizing your infrastructure because you're no longer having to manage that infrastructure. It's in the cloud. So that's kind of the first step. Then, of course, there's modernizing applications. That could consist of modernizing just a handful of applications, right? And a lot of times people think you have to modernize everything, but you should really start small. So you might modernize perhaps certain components or certain microservices of an application, maybe not the entire thing. So that's going to kind of fall under this modernize pillar. And then the last is operate. So when you're shifting to a multi-cloud, your mindset has to change a little bit because like myself coming from supporting a data center, you think about like your servers, are they going to go down? You really don't have to think about the servers anymore. The infrastructure, you're really focused on the applications at that point. And that falls under the shared responsibility framework that if you're using a VMware Cloud, right, you're no longer having to deal with your ESXi hosts. You're not responsible if those go down. So you can focus on the applications. Mm-hmm. And then, everything else that goes along with day two operations, monitoring and reporting, whatnot, that's going to fall under this pillar. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend taking a look at it.
Cool. So this slide kind of depicts the encompasses the VMware Cloud. So starting at the bottom, you have your VMware Cloud providers. It doesn't matter if it's Oracle, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, or one of the VCPP partners. Essentially, you have the same experience across any of the cloud providers, which really aligns with the VMware Cloud multi-cloud strategy. We're looking to unify the experience for your developers, the same infrastructure experience across the public cloud providers. And me and Joseph will demonstrate how powerful that is, the ability to move any application into any public cloud, which truly enables and unifies that multi-cloud experience that we're talking about. And you'll continue to hear as you're here. So.
You've probably seen this slide before, something similar. All right, so this is what we call our multi-cloud universe. So you'll notice that was like the theme of this year's VMware Explorer. I'm just gonna say our team should probably take credit because there's Phoebe.
Yep.
we kind of thought of this first. We call it used to be called the lab. We no longer call it a lab. It's the multi-cloud universe. We use this for demos or just testing. And in this scenario for this demo, this is what the configuration looks like. So we have AWS, Azure, and Google currently set up, and we use a cloud interconnect. So the cloud exchange we use is Megaport. Mm-hmm. So that's how we're actually establishing connectivity between all of these clouds. Then we also have an on-prem instance that's actually hosted in Rackspace, but that's what we use as our on-prem instance. So yeah, that's about what it looks like. All right, so this is going to be kind of a demonstration of what we're going to do in the demo. So just to set the stage here, here's the location of all of our environments currently. So we've got Rackspace in Chicago, Azure is in East US, and then AWS and Google are in West. So this is the current layout, and as we start this demo, we're going to have 3 VMs that are deployed in AWS. Those 3 VMs are WordPress apps, so those have been deployed ahead of time. And the naming scheme, even though they're all hosted on VMC on AWS right now, we have them named according to the hyperscaler that we're going to move them to. And we've deployed a native database at each hyperscaler location. So we have one in VMC, GCB, and AVS. And each one of those WordPress apps are connected to their databases. So we're going to do a live migration from AWS for the Azure and the Google VMs. For those WordPress apps, we're going to do a live migration to their respective hyperscalers. And then we'll confirm database connectivity after the fact. All right, and then yeah, we'll get started with the demo. This is kind of what it's going to look like. Like I said, we'll do the migration, what the integration looks like with the native service, and then I'll just show you what hybrid link mode looks like just on the side. And we also produced a multi-cloud dashboard in VROps, so we can show you what that looks like. And that's how we're monitoring this application. Yeah. And this is all an example of what you could do if you're going to adopt this multi-cloud approach.
Cool.
All right.
So there we go.
Back to Justin.
So I'll talk you through this demo here.
I didn't start it, so this is a pre-recorded demo, just because live demos don't usually go too well.
To avoid embarrassment. Okay, so we're starting out, we're logging into, this is GCB, or Google VMware Engine. We have 3 clusters deployed there, as you can see. Next, we're going to take a look at AVS, or Azure VMware Solution. We have 3 hosts deployed there. And finally, we're going to take a look at VMC, and we have 3 hosts as well. So same footprint across all the hyperscalers, same experience and the same UI that we're all familiar with. Next, we're actually going to take a look at the actual applications that are going to move. Like as Joseph mentioned, they're labeled accordingly to their landing zone. So this VMC one is already up and running. It's already connected to a native RDS database that exists in AWS. So we can verify you have the hello world. WordPress application is working, it's communicating with this database just fine. And so the next step is we're actually going to move these workloads to their landing zone. So we initiate Hcx, which is your migration tool, to move across the different clouds. We select our target, which is ABS. Select our resource pool. Our storage. We have a folder that we created here.
All 3 Hcx extensions installed?
Yes. So select our target network.
And of course, you can do a live migration or a bulk migration.
Yeah.
It just depends on your needs.
Yeah, this particular one's a vMotion, but yeah, there's a couple different options there. We're doing a vMotion if you need to maintain availability. That's an option as well. We validate and we kick off the migration. And this video is sped up a little bit because we don't want to bore you guys with this process. Next, we're going to move to the GCB workload. We kick off initiate the Hcx migration. Select our storage. Sorry, target vCenter.
So in reality, how long would it take to move one cloud to the other?
Well, it depends on the size of the workload. These ones, they took about what?
It's not very long, 10, 15 minutes
15 minutes
maybe.
or so? Yeah, not that long.
Yeah. It's just not too exciting to watch the bar spin.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And it depends on the size. Some are potentially going to take much longer.
Yep. Go through the settings here. This one's a vMotion. Okay.
What's the underlying network between clouds?
Underlying network is Megaport. We have dedicated circuits directly into all the public cloud providers. Express route for AVS. The same for GCB. Yep.
So in an enterprise configuration, you're going to be dependent on the whole network. So essentially, back to your central prem, and then move it to the other cloud. That's how the traffic flows. None of us here are going to have it site to site to site. It's all going to be here from each home, and then go back to the cloud.
You're talking about, the question is where
Network traffic.
the network traffic itself. Well, it depends on the application, on your traffic flow, like how it's set up. If you move it to the cloud, the gateway should exist on cloud. It depends on your design, on what your traffic flow is. But yeah, if you need to come back on prem, yeah, that's of course, yeah, it needs to come back on prem. So.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So the network traffic is going through Megaport, right? So it's not having to pipe back through
Yeah.
on-prem, if that's the question. So it really just depends on, like, you can also stretch layer 2 networks with HCX. We don't show that in great detail here. So it really depends on how your network configuration is. But when you're migrating from one cloud to another, it's going through Megaport in this instance. It's not having to go through on-prem. It's not hairpinning through on-prem.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. So here we take a look at just some of the networking native connectivity into some of the native services.
This is showing the AVS database.
AVS
right?
data, yeah, database. This is as a private endpoint that's associated with that managed SQL database that is mapped to our subnet that's associated with our VMware SCDC deployment in AVS. Next, we're moving over to GCBE. We're taking a look at the managed SQL database that's deployed there. You can see the network connectivity that's in place. It's associated private IP, current CPU utilization that it's leveraging. And next, we're going to actually take a look at the actual VPC networking, which is connected into our GCB SDDC installation.
So this is really showing how you not only have mobility between different clouds, right? It's also showing how you can tie into the native services. So that's what we wanted to show here. You can, just because you're using a VMware Cloud with a hyperscaler or service provider doesn't mean you don't have access. You know, you're still going to have access to those native services.
Right. So now we're going to take a look at the actual migration itself. It looks like it's completed. And we're going to verify that the application is working. Okay, that's good.
Is there an expectation that IP scheme has been stretched across multiple clouds in order for this not to require VM customization during the move?
There's no expectation. We didn't stretch the networks in this example, but if there's a requirement for you to stretch the actual networks, you can. Yeah, if you notice, the actual IP scheme is different from the different clouds that we moved to.
So you did a VM customization on the way?
No, it grabbed a new IP address once it was moved to that public cloud provider.
So you're presuming DHCP?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, so there,
How many of us are actually using DHCP in our pod?
so there's multiple ways.
Weird.
You can absolutely stretch layer 2 networks, so that's an option if that's a requirement for you.
Yeah.
However, just for the sake of this demo, we were showing just the migration aspect of it, so we didn't actually have connectivity with those databases before the migration. And then as far as IP schemes before and after, if it's important that you keep the same IP, you know, potentially using a stretch network,
Yeah.
or a lot of times what we'll see is updating DNS for the public IP. So perhaps you have a different public IP on the other side, and you can update public DNS.
Right. Next, we're going to verify the GCB workload is communicating with its native database service.
Oh, actually, yeah. Is PowerShell going to be updated to be able to do this via scripting? There are Hcx extensions.
Yes.
Phoebe says yes.
My boss says yes, though.
It must be true.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, we don't want to click. So yeah, we just verify that the database is talking to the instance. The application is up. So really, like Joseph said, we really want to, what we're demonstrating with this is a very simple demo. We're showing that you can integrate with the native services. You're not isolated to the VMware Cloud. You can deploy to any cloud that you choose and leverage the native services as you see fit. So pretty straightforward. And then we're going to just verify the actual same unified experience across all the different clouds. So here's application AVS. Here it is in GCVE.
Awesome. I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
All right. And we'll do the second part. There's a second part of the demo. So now that we have our application moved, how are we monitoring it, right? So that's what we're going to look at next. All right. So we're in the VMware Cloud Console now, and we're just going to navigate to our vCenter. And here I was just showing that we actually did have our on-prem instance added with vSphere Plus. We're actually in our lab, we're using the demo.
Yeah.
So there is a trial that you can use. So we didn't actually relicense it, but vSphere Plus allows you to connect your on-prem environments and relicense them from, to a subscription-based license. But the really cool thing is you can actually see all of your vCenter inventory and resources from a single pane, right? Even your on-prem instances. So that's kind of what I wanted to show here. But we're going to log into the VMC instance. And I do have the on-prem instance set up in hybrid link mode with the VMC on AWS instance. So we'll see that here where we can actually view both of them in the same inventory. And to accomplish this, you just have to deploy a vCenter Cloud Gateway appliance to your on-prem. And that allows you to kind of proxy the connection. And there you go. You can see both the VMC and on-prem instance in the same inventory.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty powerful. Just showing the same inventory. And then we're going to browse over here in just a minute to vRealize Operations Cloud. And before I do that, I remember I do show the hybrid link mode connectivity. So this is where you'd go to see that hybrid management. And you can actually see that on-prem connection. It's really easy to set up. We actually didn't have this set up before I was going through this. And I'm like, well, we really got to show the hybrid link mode if we're going to do a demo. So I set this up super quickly. It was really simple. So now we're going to navigate to vRealize Operations Cloud. And like I said earlier, we have a dashboard set up. Also, created this pretty quick. We already had all of our different cloud instances connected. So it was easy to create this dashboard, but we have our on-prem listed up top here. And for that, we just have the inventory, and I think I go through and show that you can actually browse through the inventory in this dashboard. We have some alerts in the middle there, and then top used resources, memory resources on the right. This is just an example. Of course, you would customize this to what you really care about. And then right below it, you'll notice that there is VMware Cloud on AWS. So we're going to scroll down and take a look at that. And this widget right here shows the RDS database. So all of these individual boxes show different metrics from the database. And then, so we're taking a look at the CPU just as an example. There's our Bitnami WordPress. And then we also have the actual WordPress app itself. So if you think about that, the WordPress app is hosted on the VMware Cloud, right? And the database is hosted in a native service, but we're still able to view that from the same screen. So I think that's really powerful.
Multi-cloud vision, yeah. You can see
Yeah,
everything.
True multi-cloud.
True multi-cloud.
And then we're also going to show the same thing for AVS, Azure VMware Solution. We also have the SQL database and the WordPress app. So a similar layout, and then we have the inventory and then alerts for each one, just to show what you can actually set up here. And last but not least, we have Gcb, the same setup, database, WordPress app. And then just browsing through the inventory. So it's really seamless. You're actually viewing this from one page that's kind of the single pane of glass for monitoring. To accomplish this, we're connecting to not only the different vCenters, right, but we're also connecting to Azure and Google and AWS so that we can view the native services. So I'm showing that here now, just our vCenter connectivity, our VMC on AWS connectivity, and then our AWS and Azure, and then further down we have GCP, which is Google. So there are plugins to actually monitor all of these from VROps, which is pretty powerful. And to accomplish this, like if you're monitoring something remotely with VROps, you also have to deploy a proxy. I don't show that, but it's similar to like the vCenter Cloud Gateway where you have to deploy that appliance. And then here I'm just browsing the inventory of VROps to show what it looks like if I want to look through the different regions of AWS, if I have servers or services deployed there, and I'm browsing to the database as well, just to show if you're kind of outside of the dashboard, how you can get there. There's tons of metrics. If you've seen VROps, this will look pretty similar, or familiar, I should say. A lot of metrics to choose from. Each different object has different metrics associated with it and properties. So I'm just showing that here.
Built into ARIA?
ARIA is going to include and encompass a lot of this. So
Yep.
Ideally, we would have shown the ARIA version of this, but of course it's still fresh off the press. So yes, but you can expect something similar from ARIA.
Yep.
All right, I believe that completes that. Let's just make sure. All right, and that was it. Did anyone have any questions? Yes.
You showed this with MySQL database. There are other databases.
Yes.
Yes, so the question was, we showed this with the MySQL database or other databases supported. And yes, it just depends on your needs. That was one of the native services available, and we just